Hey there, everybody! Welcome to Retro Repair Roundup, episode number whatever the heck this is, 22 or something. I don't know.
22.
I don't know. We've been gone for 3 weeks and we've forgotten how everything works. Anyway, it's like it's the game show where everything's funny and the points don't matter or something like that. So, welcome back to episode 22. Let's go through all our names and then take care of some of our stupid little housekeeping crap that we do, and then we'll go from there. So, Retro Repair Roundup, your hosts are me, Joe, of Joe's Computer Museum. We've got Ron of Ron's Computer Museum. Jesus, I can't even speak tonight. I haven't had enough caffeine.
I know.
We've got Sean Fahey.
Joe even pointed the wrong direction, like he's dabbing.
Like, I don't freaking know. I don't know how anything works. Shut up. We got Javier, the Hobmaster himself. We got Rudy's Retro Intel, and our guest, Andy TheRasteri. While you are here, thank you for stopping by tonight, everybody. Remember to lasso that like button and spur that subscribe. I don't know that one's right. Subscribe to the channel so you know when we're going to do these things.
Are we doing an adult channel tonight or not? I could understand.
I am
gonna go either way.
Joe's normal medication has been replaced by fentanyl.
Anyway, so we are done with all the little silly things. So again, let us introduce our special guest, Andy. Welcome to the show, Andy, and we apologize to anybody who might think he's a little bit tired because he is in Scotland, and it's like ass in the morning over there. So, thanks for staying up late to be on our humble, silly little show, and welcome to the Roundup.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Thanks for accepting our invitation, and especially being here so early.
Yeah. I'm normally awake at this time anyway. It's not a big deal. So,
Did you tell us to be a 7-hour stream tonight?
Yeah, well, there we go.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm game if you are.
Yeah.
So
actually, oh nope, sorry, Joe.
No, I was just you go ahead, Ron. You got it. You're on it.
Oh, okay. Hey, well, since I invited you along this evening, again, Andy, I really want to thank you for stopping by. We've got like some kind of question or some different questions, but maybe you might take a second and just tell people who you are and where they can find you online. That'd be great.
Sure. Well, I'm Andy. I do a channel called TheRasteri on YouTube. I do sort of retro computing and as well as that DJ technology and audio repairs and stuff like that. So yeah, a bit of a mixed bag really. I should probably really separate it into 2 different channels, but I've made my bed now. I've got to sleep in it. So that's basically what I do. And also I do little bits of open source projects and stuff like that. That kind of thing.
So do you do any other social media where people can follow you, like Twitter, Mastodon?
Sure. Yeah, I'm on Twitter.
Whatever.
Just Rasteri on Twitter.
Okay.
Yeah, just Rasteri on Twitter. Basically, that'll find me. I don't really have much else in the way of social media. You can add me on Facebook if you really like on the same username, but I don't really post there anymore. And yeah, that's about it.
Would you maybe tell us a little bit about how you got started in the retro computing hobby, and maybe what some of your favorite kind of aspects of the hobby are, and then maybe we'll talk about WePC and all that type of stuff here in a minute.
Yeah, sure. So I suppose like really I was doing retro computing from a very early age because my parents were both teachers, which was to say they're sort of well educated but not very well off, if you know what I mean. So basically I was using a retro computer until about the age of 12 just because that's the only computer I had. It was you guys have done European PCs on this channel before. Like it was a Amstrad CPC was my favorite, or was the one I had. I think they bought it, but I think I've got it here actually. Yeah, here we go. This is my actual childhood Amstrad computer.
Cool. So, I'll send you my shipping address after the show.
Yeah, I found this in my parents' attic a little while ago. They were about to throw it out. I rescued it, thank God. But yeah, so retro computing was just normal computing for me from a young age. Playing games for literally 10 years before I before I was actually using it. So yeah, and then like even after we got a modern PC, and it would have been about 1996 or so, like I had to share it with my brother, so half the time I'd be going back to the old computer anyway. So, but by then obviously I had access to the internet, so I was able to like download stuff from the internet and put it on my old computer. So moving stuff to and from the internet to my old computer has always been something I've been really into. And then, even from after that point, when my school, I don't know if you know much about like the BBC Computer Literacy Project in the UK, where they had they put sort of BBC micros into every school, and later after that, BBC Acorn Archimedes. They when schools were chucking them out, they were basically just chucking them out, and I used to just dumpster dive them out of bins and stuff like that. So I've got quite a collection of Acorn computers as well, and I've always really enjoyed kind of moving downloading programs on the internet, running them on there rather than emulating them. And there's just, I don't know, there's something about old computers, I think, that because you can kind of, modern computers are so complicated, the clock rates are so fast, that kind of thing, that it's difficult to kind of design peripherals for them and kind of understand the whole system.
Yeah.
Where kind of 8-bit computers, you can understand the entire system, look how the whole thing works, and even like design them yourself. So that's I think mainly the reason I'm still into them today, is just because you can kind of comprehend it as a single person. You can kind of comprehend the whole system and design peripherals for it. So I think that's kind of where it comes from for me.
It's definitely well documented. A lot of those old machines, so well loved that people are still making upgrades and expansions. Like Silicon Insider out of France is making a number of add-ons for the BBC Micro,
sure,
and all that type of stuff, just to kind of keep those machines still running. I've even seen for the original Acorn, I see that, Joe. For the original Acorn, there's even sort of like a Raspberry Pi upgrade that you can.
Yeah, I saw that.
Or just like load, like sort of like stream and load applications and stuff. So it just makes it really, really easy to kind of relive all of that. So anytime you want to watch an episode of Look Around You,
that's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah, Look Around You.
I always think about Look Around You, and I was like, they couldn't get a better monitor because it's got like vertical collapse at the top or something.
Yeah. Well, even though it was, I'm sure, really filmed in the 1980s, I guess they just found a broken one. Yeah. Right. That was it. Because that was it. If you were in school in the time I was in school in the UK, just there was always a BBC Micro in the corner of the room, usually with that exact monitor and everything. So and like Look Around You was such an effective parody of sort of like the I don't know if you've seen any of the sort of BBC programs from back then, like the computer program and Micro Live, stuff like that. It's such a perfect parody of those things. It's such a great series.
I do love that. It really speaks to me, like watching all those little educational things. And actually, the very first time I watched it, I think the first episode I watched was Maths. Oh, yeah. And I didn't really realize, I was like, they have got to be screwing with me here. Like, this isn't right. And then it's like, and then they slowly kind of tip the hat that, that there's something funny going on. Plus over here, we just call it math.
Yeah.
So
that's it.
I was like, Maths.
You've only got one of them.
I mean, I realize there's more than one, but why the S? We're saving money. It's sort of like stopping you from everything. So. But tell us, because kind of the thing, like the way I found your channel was because I was looking up stuff about PC 104 one day. And then that's when I kind of stumbled on the WePC and all that type of stuff. Do you want to maybe take a little bit of time and talk about how you got introduced to the PC 104, like what PC 104 is, maybe how you got introduced to it, and then the cool things you've done with that platform?
Sure. So PC 104 is an industrial form factor for PCs. It was sort of invented, I think, by Ampro in the late 1980s. And it's basically just a normal PC form factor, except that, in fact, I think I've got a PC 104 board here. It's just that the ISA or ISA slot is instead of being like a slot, is like broken out to this pin header here to make it a bit more robust. And the PC104 specification sort of specifies a kind of footprint layout for the size of the board. So this is a PC104 motherboard, and the idea is you just sort of, instead of adding cards to the motherboard, you sort of stack them up on top of each other, and that provides a nice little compact kind of layout. Yeah, perfectly. Here is the picture here. Yeah, instead of putting slots into a motherboard, you stack them up, and that builds a really nice compact, rugged industrial environment. And it's sort of intended for when you want to put PCs into like, for example, a factory running heavy machinery. That might cost hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever, and would have a PC running it. But then in 10 years, when the PC is obsolete, how do you continue to run the product if the PC dies? And the answer is PC104. And I suppose and it just so happens that PC104, because it needs to be so backwards compatible with early DOS technology, and specifically the ISA slot, which is the biggest hurdle to running old games on modern computers, is the lack of ISA slot for the sound card. I suppose, just by accident, PC104 stuff happens to be really, really good at running old DOS games, which is kind of where my interest in it kind of came from. Really, it was all about let's I want to run some old DOS games on something that you can still buy today. PC104 is the ideal kind of thing for it. So you can buy PC104 to ISA adapters. But if, just like any other industrial equipment, they're monumentally expensive. I think the cheapest one I could find was about $200-300, something like that, and it only gave you like one slot. So, but because the adapters are just completely passive, I just kind of thought, well, surely I could just build one myself. And I'm not a professional circuit board designer, but a passive adapter I can just about manage. So that's what I did. I built a passive adapter, and it worked. Well, it didn't quite work first time. There was manufacturing defects that shorted out 2 of the pins and blew up one of my PC104 motherboards. But that was not my fault. It was the PCB manufacturer's fault. I was convinced it was my fault to start with. But it was one of the few times where there's been an error in the PCB and it wasn't my fault. So but yeah, no. It just sort of spiraled out there from there. Really, we. Getting ISA sound cards to work in modern computers kind of led to me looking at what other embedded industrial form factors are there. And I found ICOP, who make a processor called the Vortex 86. They sell this little sort of embedded module here, which is, it's in their own form factor, and it's just like a kind of... just a tiny little thing like that. But this is a full DOS compatible computer. It has a full ISA bus. And so I just kind of thought, well, could we add this to just a circuit board and then just add a Sound Blaster compatible ISA chip on it? And that means that we can just basically have a very, very tiny DOS compatible PC with a full Sound Blaster support, in components you can still buy today, which is I think quite a useful thing, So yeah, that's basically where all that came from, more or less.
Cool.
That's pretty awesome. So that what you just showed was the Wii PC. Do you want?
Yeah. This is the Wii C. Sorry, yeah. I've jumped ahead a bit, possibly, but the Wii C was just that basic idea, of taking a modern but still legacy compatible PC board, sticking it on a circuit board with a Sound Blaster compatible chip, and just putting it in a little enclosure like this, it actually works really great. I hardly did anything. I basically just designed the circuit board to add someone's existing design onto and connect it up to some components and stuff like that, and it works really. Compatibility is really good.
Cool.
Andy, I have a question for you. Have you talked to Ford and GM and Chrysler about your chip shortage? You can put that inside their cars that are missing the new chips.
What was that? Sorry, I missed that.
So in North America, Ford and GM and Chrysler are not sending all their cars out because they're missing.
Oh, I see.
So maybe you can work with them to kind of get the production lines going again.
Yeah, we should do, actually. Yeah. Yeah, I'd love for cars to be able to run DOS games. I think that would be amazing. Yeah.
On your info system as you're driving. It's like, yes.
Yeah. Totally different meaning to CarPlay.
CarPlay.
Like, your new Corvette is cool, but can it play Crysis?
I'd love to have like some kind of interface where you can play Doom by turning the steering wheel and pressing the pedals. That'd be amazing.
I was going for a high score right when I made it to the children's playground. Oh wow! But you showed, or you were talking about the interface, and JVHS in chat said that what the heck is that called? It's a 2.54 millimeter DuPont connection, I guess, for the ISA bus is kind of what breaks it out. It looks very similar to what Andy used on their like is the EX, is that the all-in-one?
Okay,
but I'm sure that it's not exactly pin for pin the same, but maybe it is. I don't know. But
so yeah, the one I'm using in the WC is the Vortex 86DX, which is like is basically a 486 class processor. It has some Pentium instructions. I think it's got Comp Exchange 8B, but it doesn't have any of the real-time clock stuff. So it's basically a 486. But it runs at 800 megahertz, so it's a little bit, but like I don't. It's not like an x86 actual processor. I think it's more of a RISC architecture that sort of simulates x86 instructions in microcode. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah. So
does it have a turbo button so you can put it back at 66 megahertz?
It actually does, yeah, more or less. In the BIOS, you can actually underclock the processor to any arbitrary integer division. So that's actually really you can set it down to like 8 megahertz or whatever and run ancient applications. So the Vortex 86DX is actually a really great processor for running old DOS games. It's ICOP themselves don't seem to have realized this, weirdly. So I'm currently in the process of trying to persuade them to do something like this as a product, but we'll see how it goes.
It's pretty amazing because it definitely makes like there's so many people that would love to get into retro DOS gaming that don't have the space for a giant PC tower or something like that, or have the patience or maybe the technical skill to get like an old AT motherboard working, in 2022. So I think PC really represents like a great way for people to get started in the hobby. Without having to have something that does take like a huge footprint in their room.
Well, that's it. I mean, you get the sort of all these console manufacturers are making, like the NES Classic Mini, the Mega Drive Mini, and all that kind of thing. And I'm just like, well, why not something similar for the PC? I mean, everybody could want a little thing they can put underneath their TV and play whenever they want. So I think something the PC should have as well.
Yep. I need to pull the trigger on getting one. And I know that there's been a number of channels out there that have done, I mean, your channel does like a really great job because it's your delivery and just the narration on your channel is just like, it's very matter of fact. And it's like, we're going to get right to the guts or right to the point of kind of what we're trying to get across in this video. And you've got like 4 or 5 that kind of just showed like different alliterations of things and sort of like, okay, well, I made this sound card that's for the PC 104 interface and all that. I mean, it was just very cool to kind of see like the troubleshooting and getting that, for the other PC 104 motherboard and all that, just to make that work with those industrial PCs. But I think VCC is definitely the way forward for a lot of people. So if people are kind of interested in building that, is there a source that you recommend more than others? Have you done or are you considering maybe doing a video of like kind of like here's how you order everything you need to get started?
Yeah, so I mean, I've got a vague build guide, but it's one of these things. It really depends on what part of the world you're in. So I got my processor modules from a place. Well, I actually got the first one from work because we were testing them for a completely unrelated project, which was really, really handy. And then I've been buying them from a place called DSL or Data Sound Limited in the UK. But it seems to me in the US, it seems to be a lot more expensive for some reason. Everyone I know in the US is spending like $400 to get hold of one. So that's the biggest expense is getting the actual processor module. But at this point, I wouldn't recommend sort of someone go out and build one. But there's another guy who has been like we said, we're talking about the Vortex 86 EX. It's called the was it the Tiny Llama, and it's very similar to the WC, except it uses the much cheaper Vortex 86 EX module. I'm sure I have one of those lying about. Yeah, here we go. The Vortex 86 EX module, which is much smaller, and it doesn't run quite as fast, but, that's fine. It doesn't matter. It's running DOS games. It doesn't need to be very fast. And what's actually kind of interesting about it as well is it comes with a PCI Express slot on the underside. It's a mini PCI Express, so you can either put ICOP's own graphics card in it, which is quite basic, but I've recently been testing it on some faster PCI and PCI Express graphics cards, so hopefully have some benchmarks up for that soon, which might be interesting. But I do think this is probably a better choice if you're going to build one yourself, because they're a good deal cheaper. You can buy them direct from ICOP and it costs a little bit less, and like I said, the project's called the Tiny Llama, and I think it's a very interesting project, so it's probably a better bet for building one than building the WC that I designed. So yeah, I would check them out.
I didn't invite you on to send your business somewhere else.
Well, I'm not selling these anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, no, I know, but it's very much like Santa Claus sending people over to Gimbals. To sorry, maybe that's kind of a dated reference, but yeah, it's like, oh, yeah, just go over to Gimbals. They got the
people have built the WCs though. They do occasionally end up on eBay. There's one person I know, Hannah, building them, Nachtrave on the Vogons forum. So keep an eye on eBay, but I think they normally go for about $100 at that point. So yeah, it's if you want to build them yourself, you can maybe do it for about half that. But it's still a significant expense. It's I would like to see them come down in price a little bit, and I think the only people who could do that would be ICOP themselves. Like if they could, because they already do little sort of mini PCs that come in a lovely little metal enclosure and have basically everything you need except the access to the ISA bus and the Sound Blaster compatible chip. So if they were just stick one of those on the PCs they already sell, I think it would be a very, very interesting thing to do. And I'm hoping to work with them to make something like that. But who knows? We'll see how it goes.
Here's my first Wii PC.
Oh yeah.
Hey, Rudy, hold it further away from the camera. It looks smaller.
Wow, look how tiny it is.
Yeah.
And it's practically microscopic.
Right.
Oh yeah.
This is the half size IBM PC XT motherboard.
Wow.
Oh wow, yeah.
Really, you need to get a Mathco in that. I'm just saying.
Wow. Yeah.
For the 3 programs it runs, yeah.
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 The power supply
free is going to thank you. So if people want more information about that, I would definitely recommend going out to Andy's channel. He's got a lot of really great videos, and I'm not joking. They are very entertaining, and they are very to the point. He gets you right to where they're at on the subject matter. And if there are little side trips and stuff, it is always very entertaining. So thank you for making those videos. I've really, really enjoyed it. I've gone through your catalog several times. I've watched the DJ more than once too. So, but that's probably the next thing that we would maybe want to talk about is just talking about kind of your experience with kind of when DJ went digital, and kind of how in the early days of that, the technology that was kind of made available and the companies that kind of stepped up that were trying to put these products out there so that people could use digital or digitized music in their DJ shows rather than have it bringing out the turntables and breaking their scratch records and everything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, yeah, when I started DJing, I learned to do it on vinyl just because there wasn't any other choice, really. I mean, although there were CD players intended for DJs, the fact of the matter is most of the songs I wanted to play only came out on vinyl. I mean, this was even in the early 2000s, really. I mean, vinyl kind of died out for everybody else, but DJs, all the tunes just came out on record, so you couldn't really use CDJs unless you converted it to the CD. So yeah, I mean, I learned everything on actual real vinyl and stuff like that. But Yeah, in I think it was 1999 or 2000, Pioneer came out with a piece of equipment called a CDJ that was kind of the first look into what you could actually do for a proper digital DJ. It took CDs and it had a little sort of plastic platter that you could scratch with on the top, and it was like quite mind blowing to a lot of people. I mean, it still wasn't quite all the way there. You couldn't, you could scratch with it, but it wasn't great. But just for like mixing tracks and stuff, it was ideal, and they're still kind of the industry standard today. But shortly after that, there was in fact, I think it was probably about the same time, there was a project in the Netherlands by a guy called Mark-Jan Bastian, who I actually met this year at the EMF Camp Festival. Lovely guys. He's incredibly clever, super, super nice guy as well. And he invented a device called Final Scratch. Do I actually have one here? I don't know. I never thought to look it out, but it was basically just a sound card that plugged in between your turntables and your mixer, and then you'd play special records on your turntables. And what it had like a time code pressed onto the record, and that meant that you could just play through a normal stylus the time code record, and it would sort of interpret your movements and then apply that to an MP3. So if you scratched the record, you'd get the scratching noise on the real MP3 and stuff on the MP3, and it worked so well. I didn't have it at the time, but I recently did a video where I tested it, and it works incredibly well. Like it feels like real vinyl. It's absolutely incredible. And now that's just the standard for scratch DJs, turntablists. They pretty much exclusively use what are called DVS or digital vinyl simulators, where it's just exactly like that. You have a time code record on the turntable, and then you plug either the mixer or the sound card into your computer, and then you just scratch MP3s. And they're used in all DJ battles, all competitions and stuff like that, and it's basically as good as real vinyl. Obviously some people are a bit purist, they don't really agree with that, but for all intents and purposes, it's a great way of doing things. And as far as I'm concerned, the moment that came out, I never bought really another record ever again. I was nothing but digital, because me, I'm very much a kind of computer oriented guy, and the moment I could just plug everything into the computer and start doing that instead, I was absolutely all over it. So yeah, it was great.
So for folks that haven't watched Andy's documentary, he does a really great breakdown of kind of the early days of some of this equipment, and specifically like one company that kind of put some products out into the marketplace that were very, very sort of like a sea change for how those things worked. And you were mentioning about these like time code records that are just basically sort of like a record that has very special information kind of encoded on it that the stylus picks up. And from the documentary, I was sort of like what could possibly be on there that would be and then you kind of explain where it's like, oh, it's like kind of like this sine wave, so that way that when you scratch and stuff, it can figure out exactly where you are kind of in the groove, and so that way that it'll kind of simulate that based on the music. And there's so much, like, I mean, in your video you even talk about the latency on those type of things, so that way that you don't have to be kind of speculative in your actions, that it's just much more like you connecting with the equipment to connect to your audience.
Well, that's it. That's the biggest thing when you're, especially if you're a turntablist like a scratch DJ. The latency is the most important thing. I mean, really, you want it, 10 milliseconds or less. And Final Scratch, it gets nearly there. I think it's like 12 or 14 milliseconds. I mean, that's really good for the time. I mean, modern DVS systems. Like this mixer, for example, it does DVS, and it came out about I think 15 years after Final Scratch. That's the original one, and it on my modern Windows 10 laptop, I think it gets like 20 or 30. So it's not as good as the original one. So you can see how good it was back then. But yeah, it's all about latency. It's the same for if you're playing a keyboard or any kind of MIDI instrument. If the latency is more than a certain amount, you start to. It's a bit like talking when there's echo. You kind of get like distracted, and it just doesn't really work very well. So yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting how you kind of broke down and did the benchmarking on that showed kind of again those legacy products where it's just like so much lower latency, even with like slower interfaces and stuff, and even as companies tried to modernize and go like Firewire and things like that to try to drop all of that latency interfaces, it just added more layers of complexity. because I think a lot of people kind of think about those things, and it's sort of like, oh, well, this would just be something that runs on top of a Mac or something that runs on top of Windows or something.
Mhm.
But I guess kind of in those early days, wasn't it? It was kind of Linux distributions that were like very specifically sort of set up for the equipment. So it was like no distractions. You just get like this interface, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
for your show.
Well, that was one of the big reasons I wanted to look at Final Scratch, the first DVS, was because it ran on Linux, which is very, very strange. I mean, it actually originally ran on BOS, if you guys remember that.
That's great. Sorry.
I'm big fans of it, apparently. So, because I mean, BOS was really designed for low latency audio processing and everything like that. And when they obviously the original version was written for BOS, but then BOS literally, I think, just as they were about to release it, went bust. So they couldn't really build a commercial product on that. So what they did was they built their own custom version of Linux. I think it was based on Debian, and basically just had the hardware all running on there. But it meant that sort of DJs in the early 2000s were using Linux before most people were, using it on the desktop or anything like that. It was very strange. And it was very, very picky about what kind of computer you ran it on, though. I think they recommended a Sony Vaio laptop, but and I had a lot of difficulty kind of figuring out the combination of hardware to kind of make it run. So I can't imagine how much more hard it would have been back then. But I mean, it was the interesting thing was you would install Linux on a computer, and then it would dual boot, and you'd have your normal Windows installation where you download songs and stuff, and then you'd have this custom version of Linux that just ran Final Scratch. And hey, can't complain. It works. It works really, really well. Just if your computer can support it.
Right. If I'm remembering correctly, I think that there was even sort of a time as they made that bridge between Windows and using the Linux installs, where you had to have like your base kind of Windows on there to run the installer that would then build a second partition and then put all of your stuff into it, so that way that you could at least kind of dual boot and do some other things. But
that was it. It needed Windows to be installed. I mean, I would have maybe naively assumed that you could just install it on a blank hard drive, but no, you have to install Windows first, and it needs to be. It's kind of funny. You install Windows XP, which will install with an NTFS operating system. It can't run on NTFS, this Final Scratch, because at the time Linux didn't have an NTFS driver. So what it does is you install Final Scratch. The first thing it does is convert your root partition from NTFS to FAT32. Then you install it inside the FAT32 partition as like just a kind of system image. And then the idea is, you just sort of download your songs and everything on Windows, and then boot into Linux just for DJing, which is very, very interesting. It's not something you do these days.
Certainly not. But folks should definitely check out the doc, kind of the mini doc that you have produced, kind of all about this, because I enjoyed the other content on your channel. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm just going to go down and I'm going to watch everything. And when I got that, I was like just enthralled by just like this whole world that I had that I love computer stuff for sure. And I love BOS and I love all this. So I'm like, this is such a cool extension of kind of all of those other topics into like this community of people that were just trying to make the best show that they could for their audience and all of that. So definitely please watch the documentary. It's quite a bit of fun. Retro Techie in chat had asked what your daily driver machine is, and then that actually might be a really good segue into telling us about your retro rocket that you built.
Oh, right, okay. Well, I'm not using the retro rocket as a daily driver. That's definitely true. I mean, it's quite powerful for the time, but it ain't going to be browsing any modern websites or anything like that. Daily driver machine. Oh, it's just some piece of crap Windows. What's it? HP laptop. I don't know what it is really. To be honest, I don't really play. There's at this point there's sort of like 30 years of games, so I don't need a modern laptop to play games. I can play games for a few years ago. That doesn't really bother me. Although maybe I need to get something better for video editing possibly. But I couldn't tell you, to be honest, the model number of this thing. But we mentioned the retro rocket, so it kind of ties back into what we were saying is kind of like finding modern computers that still have an ISA slot in them, which is kind of like, a kind of theme of my channel, I suppose, really. And really I do have a lot of kind of odd exotic industrial motherboards that still have an ISA bus on them, but I wanted something that just, kind of didn't cost that much, but still ran really nice and fast and all that kind of stuff. And it looked like the best sort of, compromise there was the AMD Athlon XP, sort of, because you can get frequency up to, I think it's a 2800 plus I've got in it. And you can buy motherboards that still have, AGP and PCI, but also like an ISA slot. So you can stick a Sound Blaster in there and play, old DOS games with it, but or in some cases I put a Hercules monochrome graphics card in it and played. Don't know if you guys have seen Fast Doom, the port of Doom that runs on a bunch of weird graphics cards. I mean that looks great on a Hercules monochrome adapter with CRT. It looks amazing. So that's a lot of fun as well. But yeah, no, I think everyone should do that. Just build yourself a sort of retro rocket PC, something really, really powerful, but that can still run old DOS games. It's a huge amount of fun to play around with. I'm actually building an even more powerful retro rocket for DOScember this year, but I'll avoid spoiling that. That'll be on my channel soon. As far as I'm concerned, as far as I can figure out, it's the fastest possible processor that still has an ISA bus on it. But yeah, I'll avoid spoiling that.
We'll leave a couple minutes open for community questions for you, Andy. But if any of the other hosts have any questions for Andy, now is the time.
What's the baseline airspeed of wait, no, I always ask that dumb question. Sorry.
Just the what was it, the Monty Python question?
Yes, European or
swallow, isn't it? Yeah, it's a European or African swallow, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
3.
72.
3 in whatever unit you like.
I don't have a question, but I do kind of have a related thing to the retro rocket. I back in the day, I was the build supervisor for the company I still work for. It's like 22, 23 years ago. And so I built like every single computer that went out the door. And on Friday, a really old customer of ours, I mean, she's not old, but older customer of ours, brought in a computer for recycling and set it out on the front bench. I'm like, I recognize that. I built that 22 years ago. And then I rattled off the Windows 98 product key I used to install it. Everybody thought I was crazy. And then I picked it up and I put it in my office because it's like a Pentium 3 800 megahertz with an ISA slot in it, or with like 2 or 3 ISA slots in it. I'm like, there you go. There's your retro rocket. Still not quite as fast as an Athlon 2800, that's for sure. But
probably a bit more compatible though. I think the Pentium 3 is a bit more of a sweet spot for compatibility, to be honest. Because I'll occasionally run a program or a game or something like that just doesn't like the Athlon, and I've never really got the sound cards to work in Windows 98 or 95 properly. So I think Pentium 3 is probably a better sweet spot for a retro rocket. If I build another one, I'll maybe go Pentium 3.
Yeah, this board's weird too because it doesn't have AGP. It's like it's an AGP era board that only has PCI and ISA in it with a socket 3 or slot 3 or whatever that Pentium 3 weird socket thing they did was.
Socket.
And
socket 370, I think.
Maybe. Yeah, something like I don't.
And then you can get a socket adapter, but some of them.
I mean, that's what it has. It has a socket in it, so it's got this. It's got a socket.
I love it.
Piece,
yeah.
CPU, and it's like
yeah. And some of those work with just like the earlier chips, and then some of them actually work with the Tulaton, like the later Pentium 3s.
Yeah.
I would also say that probably a socket or an Intel-based Pentium 3 is probably, there's going to be a point where that might be the only option for people, because a lot of those Barton boards especially require a like 30 amps or 35 amps on the 5-volt line for those boards. And so once those are gone, they're gone. Unless somebody comes up with like a really great alternative on that. But
I'm sure it should be possible to build a power supply that provides high amp 5 volts. Really, I mean, it seems like, what is it, 12 volts that most of them have the high current on these days? The 12 volt rail,
like 20 amps or something like that on the 12 volt line. Because they're
just a simple step down converter board should be able to convert that down to 5 volts from 12. I think. I mean, it should be. I think it's not an insurmountable problem. I don't think. Just
Is the P3 board pre-copper mine?
Maybe. don't know. I don't remember. I took it apart. I'm like, wow, that's cool. Dude, I did that. I built that. This had an upgrade. That wasn't the hard drive that was in that. See you. Bye. I'm going home. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd have to take it apart.
There was a bit of just conversation that just happened kind of in the community thread here between One Bit Fever Dreams and oh gosh, it scrolled past. Darn it. But they were talking about Pico Gus for the Wii C, and how I think somebody just this week sort of adapted that out, so that way that you can, if you are a fan of the kind of unique sound of the Gravis Ultrasound, you can do that now on Wii PC or Wii C. Gosh, I need to get better at this.
That's the cool thing I thought about the Tiny Llama as well, is it actually includes a slot on the inside for attaching a Raspberry Pi Zero, so you can have it simulate, an MT32 or like presumably a Gus or whatever else you got going on. I mean, I think that's a really cool thing people are doing now, is kind of connecting Raspberry Pis up directly to the kind of ISA bus, just so you can, simulate now really unobtainium electronics. I think that's a really great thing people are doing. I mean, I think there's one project I saw where it literally simulates everything you might want to do on an ISA bus. It had like a floppy drive, hard drive, sound card, lots of things. I think that's probably where the end game of this is going to be. You have like a normal computer, you put a Raspberry Pi into it, and then that kind of simulates all the stuff you can't get anymore. So I think that's really, really cool.
And that's largely kind of the future of our hobby is like with the DE10 and things like that, where it's I'm sure that if some of the people that like they go to the gosh, what's that guy's name? It's the Voltar and Bob and all those guys. I'm sure that they would immediately say that the DE10 is still emulation and not simulation. But it seems like simulation is very much kind of the future of this hobby, especially for older stuff. That just because there's only so much time left on the clock, and there's only so many new old stock parts to replace some of these things, especially stuff with like CRTs and stuff baked in. So.
Yeah. I mean, that is the cool thing about the FPGA stuff, is you can, kind of break into it and extract the buses. Like you can, if you have a FPGA simulation of a PC, you could break out the ISA bus and put a sound card in it and stuff like that. I think that's the real sort of advantage of the FPGA stuff over emulation, really. Although I've yet to kind of mess around with any of it so far. I've got enough stuff on my plate, but I should really get a DE10 Nano or something and play around with it.
Yeah.
Jeremy's Hillbilly Shack was asking about PC 104 network cards, just to try to kind of bridge the gap on network connectivity for those devices or for those projects and such as well. But I guess from what you're saying, with the Tiny Llama, if you've got access to like the Raspberry Pi, where you could just hook that up, then I guess there's Wi-Fi for you there, right?
Well, I think the Vortex 86 specifically already has built-in networking anyway. So I mean, admittedly that's not going to give you Wi-Fi, but you could add. It also has a PCI bus, so you could add a PCI wireless network card. But at least in my experience, most of the industrial boards that do PC 104 have some kind of networking on board anyway. It's unusual to see them without it, just because they tended to be used in networking environments. So or you just adapt it to ISA or PCI and do it any other way. It's all good.
Very cool. Well, if we don't have any other questions from kind of the crew here, we'll go on to our next segment. But just one more time, where can people find your channel, and where can people find you kind of on social media?
Sure. I'm on YouTube. I'm the channel TheRasteri. I use Twitter as well. I'm just Rasteri on there. That's pretty much all I have, really, to be honest.
Well, what else do you need, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Andy, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I hope you'll hang. I know it's rather late there, but I hope maybe you'll hang around for the next segment where you can tell us anything that you're working on kind of in the immediate future, and maybe some cool gets or anything that you might have picked up recently kind of in your travels. So
yeah, sounds good.
Joe,
what?
I'm throwing it back. I'm throwing
Oh,
it
it's
back.
my turn. Yes. So this is the section of the podcast called "What You Working On." I was busy like clicking on the links in the side here to make the thing show up on the screen. I forgot where we were. ADHD. I'm gone. Anyway, moving on. The "What You Working On" section. Yes, this is where we talk about the cool project that we're working on right now. Usually we start with our guest. Andy, do you have some cool new thing that you're working on that you want to tip your hat to the public and say, hey, watch out for this really cool thing that's coming up soon?
Yeah, I suppose so. So the thing that's been consuming most of my time recently is this. It's called I call it the Hidman. And it's basically a device for converting USB human interface devices, so that's keyboards, mice, game controllers actually as well, to work on older PCs with PS2. Now, I mean, I know a lot of keyboards, at least in the early days of USB, supported PS2 anyway by use of an adapter, but increasingly recently it's difficult to find devices that can do this. So this basically, it's got a chip inside it, which is a really interesting chip from WCH called the CH559 that has two USB host ports in it, as well as, you know, all the stuff you need for serial communication and everything like that. And it's a great little chip to use for this kind of thing. And the hopefully when it kind of mostly works already, but I've got another one on the go that's got as well as, you know, the USB inputs and the PS2 outputs. It has a serial output for you know, computers that don't have a PS2 mouse port, as well as it should be adaptable to XT PCs, so they're, you know, quite difficult to get keyboards for, as well as maybe an original PC as well. I've not really implemented that as well, and just as a stretch goal, I'd kind of like to implement a lot of other weird keyboard protocols, like I've got a number of Amstrad PCs that have a strange keyboard protocol going on, and I think there are probably other PCs that have similar things, so I'm hoping to build this into a base that can be used to convert modern USB devices into all kinds of old technology. So it could be expandable to, you know, Amigas or Ataris or whatever else you have. But that's a long way down the road. PCs for now, you know. So that's where I've got it so far.
Is the plan to roll these and sell them on your own, or is this something you're going to do like a fundraiser, sort of a campaign or something to kind of raise funding for or anything?
I'm not really sure
I
at this
like
point.
this.
I'm not really sure at this point. It's open. It's going to be open source, so I mean anybody can sell and build them if they want to. That's kind of what I like to do. I kind of I like to build something and then have all the difficult stuff handled by other people. You know, dealing with customers and building things. But this is such a kind of simple,
a little a svelte little aluminium case and stuff like that is. I mean, that's got value and all. So
yeah, well, that's it. I mean, yeah, that's it. The case. I mean, this is the way I like to build devices. Is you know, you have an extruded aluminium case, and then you put a PCB at each end to make because you know, PCBs you get free, basically for free. You get printing, you get holes drilled where you want, all that kind of stuff. You know, it's an amazing thing to build enclosures out of. It's a tip I got from shout out to Mike Harrison from Mike's Electric Stuff YouTube channel, which is just like probably the best YouTube electronics channel on YouTube for that idea.
His channel is awesome. Yes.
Yeah, it's incredible. You know, he's just basically my channel's a rip off of his, more or less.
Ron, aluminium is aluminum in the U.S. Just
oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Rudy.
We use both in Canada, so I'm just, you know, trying to help you out.
You know,
You say sorry in Canada or just sorry?
No. We don't say sorry, we say other words, but I can't say it. It's a family channel. So, Andy, question for you. So that keyboard adapter, will it allow me to finally get a proper keyboard for my ZX81 computer?
Oh, well,
that memory thing is just terrible.
So I won't have a word said against the ZX81's keyboard. It's as far as I'm concerned, it's the best keyboard ever made. I'll never replace it. You know, it's not a real keyboard unless there's a 30% of it crashing your computer every time you press a key.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, that's great.
I just took my 16K expansion and just like hot glued it.
Well, I recently expanded my ZX81 to 16K, and I just did the internal mod. You know, you solder an actual chip to the inside because I wanted to play wanted to play a game that it actually came on vinyl. It's
wow.
I don't know if you've seen it's a single by Chris Seavey called Camouflage, where basically the idea was you'd load one side of the record, you'd load it was like a music video off, and it was all written in BASIC, and then the idea is you'd flip the record, listen to the signal, the music, and then hit a button when the single started, and then you got a music video on the ZX81 while the music played. It was really great. So basically I just upgraded my ZX81 because I found a copy of that and really wanted to play it. So it's on my channel, by the way, if you want to watch it. I recorded it.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's pretty great. Well, now I'm subscribed to Mike's Electric Stuff.
Yeah, as everybody should be.
Get ready for the rabbit hole, Ron.
1,000 subscribers. I know he was waiting on me to show up.
So, Ron, what's going on in your world? What are you working on, man?
Oh golly, my name is not next on the list, but thank you for choosing me.
I'm going by the picture, or the.
Oh, sure. I guess.
Fine.
So.
Okay, I'll go next. Whatever. So, I got things to do.
Actually, my big thing that I've just been working on recently is, since we're coming off the Halloween season, I had 3 nights of streaming that I did that my channel event, which is called Mac-O-Lantern, where it's 3 nights of gaming. The first night is typically always sort of dedicated to classic Macintosh horror games. This year we played the PT Demake, so the sort of that game that was like the new hotness, and then they discontinued it and forgot it, and so people were like selling their PS4s with the demo installed for like big bucks because it was the only way to play it. But someone made a demake for HyperCard. It's actually called Hyper PT, and that was actually pretty fun. I bought it like several years ago when it first came out, and then completely forgot and bought it again. Thanks, ADHD. But we played it, and it was actually pretty fun. And there was actually I've seen playthroughs on PT, and so I kind of had an idea of some of the things you were supposed to look for and all that. But it's got some really interesting kind of surprises and stuff that are like there's a point, not to ruin it if you watch the video, but there was a point in the game where it actually like quits and crashes, and it takes you back to the Mac desktop, and then you're still in the game. You're still in the game. So it's screwing with you.
Oh, cool.
But it was pretty fun. And then the second night played The Seventh Guest, and it melted my brain, because it was just like some of the puzzles I remember, and then a lot of the puzzles I don't.
What
And
do
so
you want?
I was getting frustrated, and there were some very kind people in chat, including JVHS, who was like, "Oh yeah, all you got to do is this," and I was like, "Those words don't make sense. I'm too far gone to understand." And then the third night I played Grim Fandango, which seemingly a lot of people in chat had never played before.
Oh, it's probably the best adventure game.
Yeah, it's there's actually kind of a cool. I played the remastered version because the original version is broken on modern operating systems, but there's a special achievement that they've added where if you play the game in tank controls mode, that you have to complete the entire game in tank controls. And I'm like, I don't think I'm up for that. But after that, I went through, and I've got a couple of other projects that I just need to clear the decks on, things that I've recorded. I've got a video coming out about the Apple DOS compatibility card for the Quadra 610, 6100. I've also got a night where I need to solder up some of my projects and stuff that I've been working on. And I've actually got a night where I'm just going to test 68882 FPUs, because I finally got my PLCT extractor in the mail. I've literally ordered like tons of them, but I finally have. It's the perfect storm. I've got all the hardware, and it's in one pile, so I can actually get my video done. So that's it.
Cool.
Sorry, I was just hunting. I did the same thing, Ron. I've got like six of them over there, and like, they could be real. They could be counterfeit. Let's find out.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. I ordered them all from UT Source, which I've had really good luck with those guys.
Yeah, UT Source has always been good to me.
Mm-hmm. But then a couple of these in here look like Uncle Joe's FPU house of chip making.
Uncle Joe's FPU house. Come today and get the deal of your life.
I wasn't sure, so I actually they're all like plastic. They're all plastic. whatever, encapsulated, whatever. And so I was like, well, I'll know what I'll do. I'll just get some brake cleaner and see if they're real. And so I just I went and all the writing came off of it. And I was like, oh wait, that only works on the PGA style chips. I was like, I felt really dumb, but I was like, whatever. It's late.
Cool.
That's it for me.
Ron, I still like the Mac game stream you did with the game. I can't remember the name of the game now. Where it was you had the text to speech going. What do you want to do? And that's all I kept saying. And I was like literally crying because the computer would just say that all the time. And it's like, how do you play the game when they're going crazy and want to smash the computer?
I was like, okay, forget it. And
you turned it off, but that was hilarious.
And still played it a little bit just to kind of see. But that one game I need to go back and kind of revisit.
Yeah.
I think for next year I want to do a complete playthrough of the Lurking Horror on the Mac game night. But we'll see. We'll see what happens in a year.
Yeah.
I love the Lovecraftian sort of stuff. So
cool. Mr. Sean Fahey, what's going on in your world, man? What are you working on?
I'm still working on my Apple IIc Plus, trying to get it to be reliable. Still having issues with it when I have time to work with it. I think if I had any more, if I had any hair on my head, it'd be torn out by now. So,
you tore your beard out. It looks like.
Deal with it. Sorry.
It's my favorite machine, and that's why I'm working so hard on trying to, get it to do what I want it to do. So,
2C Plus is such a magical machine. It's just the fastest standard 2 that you can get.
Yeah, if it wasn't in such perfect, otherwise perfect condition, and man, I'd probably. There's been times I just wanted to walk away from it and just give up, but I can't. I just keep coming back to it.
No, never let it die.
Never give up.
My question is, did Javier look at it first?
Joe, you better look at it now.
Yeah, but you know what? I had a partner with working on that, so I can, flush the blame. And you know who was? Vince Braille. So,
there you go. Cool beans. Is that all you got, Sean?
Well, I don't know if it's worth mentioning right now, but I got up at dark 30 this morning to make a road trip up to Omaha.
Oh yeah.
Which, did a 500-mile quick turn, and
oh no, it's 500 miles. No big deal. It's fine.
Yeah, I brought back a dozen Apple IIes for garage giveaway.
Nice.
K-Fest.
Awesome.
They're all kinds of different condition. Some of them look pretty awful, but if they don't make it to the garage giveaway, they'll make it to the retro repair that we have. So there'll be plenty of Apple IIes for people to try to get working again.
Yeah, Apple II forever.
Apple II is one of these computers I've always wanted to mess around with, but it's just you hardly ever see them over here. They're
quite rare over across the pond there.
Yeah. I mean,
Rudy has a habit of shipping extra Apple IIs to people in weird foreign countries. So if you ask him really, really nicely, he might send you one.
Well, maybe I've got kind of family history. My my mum, when she was a teacher in the early 1980s, she wrote programs quite a lot for the Apple II. And actually, I just found a bunch of her old discs. We were having fun getting them running on an emulator again. She hadn't seen them in 30 years, and she's got a very surprisingly nice version of Game of Battleship on there, and all kinds of other stuff. It's super cool actually. So I'll have to play around with that a little bit more.
Hey, we got one Fever Dreams has a question for you, Andy. Do you have any interest in doing some kind of switching box that can deal with any configurations of 1-2 joysticks and or MIDI in out to cover all the possibilities?
I'm guessing that's for the Wii C. Yeah, I mean, that hadn't really occurred to me. Maybe that's something we should do. Yeah. Yeah, so the way joysticks worked on DOS was a little bit weird, in that there was one joystick port, but it sort of split into two separate joysticks. But like as time went on and people wanted more buttons on their joysticks and more axes on the joystick, then they just kind of used the axes and buttons on the second joystick on the first one. So yeah, I mean, I can remember one of the very first things I ever built electronic wise was a joystick splitter. So me and my brother could play crappy Bomberman clone across two joysticks on our PC. So yeah, one of the first bits of electronics I ever knew about. So I think that would be. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there must be joystick splitters available already. Certainly, I can remember buying one back in the day. Maybe they've all disappeared from the shelves. Maybe you can't buy one anymore. Might be should be an easy thing to make, though. I think just to knock it up in an afternoon on KiCad or whatever. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah. Speaking of things that were just knocked up in KiCad and the Apple II, Joe.
Yeah. I was gonna let Rudy go first, but I'll go.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Hey, just building on what Sean said, Kansas Fest is only 253 days away, so be watching the website.
Third week of July.
Third week of July every year.
Yep.
We haven't missed it since what? Ever?
Me?
I missed you.
No, I mean it has been going on consistently every single year without a skip since they started it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So
it's an amazing time. Awesome. If you guys, if you're on the fence about going, you should go. It's pretty great.
Kansas Fest, you say?
Yep.
Yeah, Kansas Fest. It's kansasfest.org. It's a week-long event out in kind of Elmhurst, is it? It's Missouri, but it's Kansas City.
Rockhurst University. Yeah, it's called Kansas Fest, but it's actually held in Missouri at Rockhurst University. We take over a dorm for about a week, and it's just a solid, camp for nerds, and we have sessions.
Dude, it is seriously like Apple II summer camp. It's the best thing ever.
That sounds incredible.
It's been 13 all over again.
And we have contests and but a lot of the fun stuff that happens at Kansas Fest is just hanging out and talking to people and going from dorm room to dorm room, seeing what people what projects are and seeing what people are doing, and it's just a lot of fun just to hang out and what's really funny is you'll be sitting in the common area with everybody sitting around on a laptop, and suddenly everyone will go ha 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 ha, and it's because they're all in the same chat room.
Yeah, they're like in a chat room in the room together. Yeah,
it's hilarious, but it's a lot of fun. You meet a lot of great people from different walks of life, and if you love the Apple II, it's just great. It's the best place to be.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. Rudy, what's going on and what are you working on, buddy?
Let me check my show notes. I forgot.
When your list is that long.
No, it's.
I know what that's like.
Just the two things. Actually, I'm going to be doing a video on the W drive. I haven't seen one. I know Chris Torrance did one a while ago back, or maybe a year ago back. But I just got another W drive, so I want to do a little video on how to set it up so you get the menu pops up when you boot up and so on. And I finally got my GoTech for my K Pro computer.
Oh yeah.
It's the with the little knobby thing. Ooh.
Yeah.
So, but what I'm missing now is a cable that I can plug in. Because
I got extras if you need.
No, I actually need the cable that goes from here to the floppy drive connectors. The
34 pin cable. Yeah, I got a spool of that somewhere too.
Is the GoTech a worthwhile investment?
Oh, it's the most useful thing ever, honestly.
What I was planning to originally do is on my K-Pro, it only has 2 floppy drives, so I can't really get software to it. So I was going to put this in it to copy CPM software onto disk and use that. But my plan now is to do that, but then leave it out so I can use it for other projects and just leave the 2 floppy drives in like original. And then if I need to make additional diskettes, I can always just connect this into the inside of the K Pro and use that. But I think it'd be cool for many other computers that I'm playing with. So
Yeah.
I don't want to just buy
Anything that
one,
uses.
just kind of use it while you need it, and then just take it out. So
It's a good floppy emulator for.
I mean, you put the flash floppy emulation software on it, and it will emulate nearly anything that uses the 34-pin connector. It'll emulate 3.5s, 5 1/4s, 8-inch drives, Amiga drives, all of that. So and allows you to. It's like the floppy EMU, but for the MFM world. So it's a fantastic piece of hardware.
You're even seeing them in a lot of like recording studios, like in old synthesizers that use floppies and stuff like that. Like they're, every time you go into a recording studio these days, they've got vintage synthesizers. They've always got a Gotek in them. So they're absolutely amazing. I bought a big stack of them back when you could still get STM32. So hopefully set for life, but we'll see.
Well, I was thinking about picking up to see if I could get it to work with the PC transporter.
Oh yeah.
Yep. And outside of that, I'm just working on my tan. That's about it.
Your tan.
I thought he said TAM for a second. I kind of got excited, and then he crushed my hopes expertly.
Sure,
I was going to say, you're a little too far north to get a tan there, Rudy.
Well, I'm working on it.
Oh, okay.
It's a long time.
Yeah, I'm in Scotland. Try getting a tan here. It's like,
you get
for the 4 hours of sunlight we get a year.
Javier, what's going on in your world, buddy?
Oh, brother, I don't know, man. I'm about to die. It's I finished the Bell and Howell, and I did a video about it, and of course it didn't work, but it's okay. It's Jose Luis' problem now, and he said that it's okay, that he liked to fix that. So that's one of the frustrations gone. Then I got a new frustration called Atari. I got an Atari 1040, and I've been trying to make it work, and I finally make it, fix the power supply. And I got a Gotek too for that. So I'm in the middle of it. It's working and not working, and it's giving me headaches. But it's good. It's fun. Oh, and I sent out the 2C base. Remember the broken 2C base?
That was snapped in half. The 2C. Yeah, anybody didn't catch that? He had that the 9-inch monochrome Apple IIc that has that cast iron base that cracked in half. How did that happen? But anyway.
I somebody in I think in the group asked me if he could get it. He was going to try to weld it. I said, yeah, no problem. Send it away, and he's going to send a video of it welding it or trying to weld it.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Because that's a weird metal on there too. It's not like.
Here's my question: Is it really steel, or is it?
I think it is not. It's like a mixture. It's like
like hot metal.
It's like a hybrid between plastic and steel.
No. It's like those, those pans, those French pans that are very heavy.
Oh, the non-stick pans.
Cast iron.
Yeah, cast iron. It's like
yeah.
cast iron. Yeah. So I think so. I don't know. It's a weird metal. I'm not.
When you get it back, Javier, just make sure to season it before you try to cook on it, or otherwise.
Okay.
Do it.
And when you're done, you got to oil it too, right?
Good oil. And that's it. That's where I'm at right now.
What even is the show? Anyway,
Cooking.
Moving on.
See.
It's really heavy though, JVHS. It's because you would think maybe it would be like something like that, but no, it's really heavy.
It's a chunker. It's kind of like an old Bell System telephone. It's basically a weapon in the right hands. It's like 85,000 pounds. Yeah.
Because you got to think it's got to hold up a 9-inch CRT. I mean, the base weighs more than the monitor, so that's good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're leftover CBM missiles from the 60s that converted them into space.
It's made out of depleted uranium.
Yeah.
Cold water.
Cool. But that's it. What about you, Joe?
Too much and not enough. When am I not got crap going on? Two big things going on in my world right now. I'm fixing a couple SE30s. We got this SE30 right here, which I got fixed up recently. However, I believe it has a bad SCSI chip, so I'm waiting for a new SCSI chip on that.
Whoa.
The other SE30 is this one right
Hey,
here.
does it use the same one? Does the SE30 use the same SCSI chip as the SE?
As the what?
Does it use the same chip as the SE?
I don't know. My only SE board right now is in this, and otherwise, so I'd have to look it up because I don't have physically one to put my eyeballs on.
Right. Sorry.
I mean, I literally press my eyeballs to it. But the other one, the other SE30 is this one right here, which all I did was ultrasonically clean it. This is Ron's SE30 board, and we found out that the problem with it was basically just those front RAM sockets need to be launched out of a cannon into the sun. And as you can see, Ron, it has run 179 snooper loops, still running, and has been running since about 9 this morning. So,
I love snooper loops. Fruity, but pretty delicious.
Joe, did you say the problem was the Ron sockets?
Yes, the Ron sockets.
That's what I thought I said.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I apologize if my internet cuts out. I'm getting a notification from StreamYard that my connection is bad. So, moving on. Also, the next big thing I've been working on are these little things, which are called the Y cable. I can make myself big. I'm in charge. I can do whatever I want. Called the Y cable. So for those out there who may or may not be in the know, there's this cool little card that was originally designed for the LC, LC2, LC3s, and some other. It's compatible with some of the other Macs that allows you to run an Apple IIe inside your Mac. And it was really popular on the less expensive Macs that were deployed at schools. So that the schools could upgrade to Macs, but then also still have access to this huge library of their old Apple II educational software, right? It was a great thing. They're in schools everywhere. So everybody who has one got one from one of those LCs from a school. But what they didn't get is this little thing that Javier is showing on the screen right now. And that's the Y cable. That's the cable that connects to the back of the 2E card that splits out to both the 5.25 inch floppy drive, so you could, actually load your software, and the joystick port, so you could play games or run logo or whatever. So literally, you can run stuff, but you can't do all of the stuff on it. So what I did is I designed these little adapter doodles here that I call Y cable. You don't need a cable. Wow. You just need this, and it plugs into the connector. And then I designed 2 different versions, one with the DB19 connector on there. And I have to give props to John Kenny Morris of Applesauce, since he's the guy who knows how to get DB9 connectors because he does stuff. He got me a link to a website where you can still get some of these. So that's where I got that. But I also designed it here with the IDC20 connector. So you can connect good old disk 2 drives to it, because people have both types of drives, right? I can't expect everybody out there who has a 2E card to have a DB19 drive. Yeah. So it's designed with both. And some of my good friends like Ron and a couple other people that I forgot off the top of my head, Tom Barber got one, and what's the guy's name? Garth Beagle got one. I sent some of these kits out to some of my friends as beta testers so that they can actually use them in the real world and say, hey, how's it working? Justin Morgan got one as well. And they work electrically. They work fine. I've done all the testing, but my main concern is that the way that this connects, there's no thumb screws in here. There's no thumb screws to hold it into the machine. And with all this weight, it's going to fall out of the back of the machine. So I want people to test it, give me their feedback on that, and let me know so I can spin an updated design for this. Maybe putting these connectors sideways or something like that.
Make the board
appearance to screw holes. So that
just a little kickstand like that Amiga bridgeboard or whatever it was.
What's that?
That you give it a little kickstand like on the Amiga 1000 bridgeboard?
Ooh, that is a great idea. We can do that too. Yeah.
Joe, you can make the board 1 yard long so you get your fingers inside to tighten up the screws.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 cubits.
2 cubits, exactly. Well, it could be one now.
Anyway. And then the last thing that I wanted to tease by showing something on my screen. Stand by. I got it mostly set up, but I need to set it up a little bit more because I have to hide something up here.
More set it up, Joe.
More set. I'm not good at doing the settings.
Make with more setting.
So, is this little thing right here. Stare at that for a couple seconds and think about what that might be. And then I'm going to take it off the screen. That is a project that I'm working with. Man, I hate ADHD sucks. My brain just resets.
Mac Effects.
Mac Effects. Yep, I'm working with Mac Effects on that cool little project to bring a cool another Mac upgrade out.
Joe, as you're working on that project, I am curious, as a curious person with curiosities, that are there any gals working on this project with you?
Any gals working on that project with me?
Yes. These gals, are they helping you with all the gate arrays, or
yes, there are several gals that are helping me with gate arrays with this project very specifically, and we've been able to do quite a bit of excellent and perfected reverse engineering to the point that those gals help me assemble the gate arrays and test them, and they actually do work. So yes,
that's always the problem. Those darn gals.
Yeah,
they try hard, but sometimes
just don't happen.
Yes. So that's what's going on in my world.
Joe, I have a question. Will that little surprise thing you're working on work on a Color Classic?
There is a slight possibility that a project I am working on right now might help you out for a Color Classic. Yeah.
Well, you're expecting
in this particular case, I don't think it would make sense because of the design of the Color Classic, but you could plug it into it.
Because you are getting my Color Classic board to recap, so maybe
I would be happy to use your Color Classic board for testing. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Don't forget.
I mean, it won't make it any. It won't actually. How can we put it? It won't do anything. It won't also not do anything. It'll just run as if it was before. But
just remember, my Color Classic is coming to you in working condition already.
Right.
So make sure not to send it to Javier when I'm done. Got it.
What? Exactly. It's just a recap.
We gotta give you crap, Javier. We have to. It's the rules. It's the rules.
Yeah, just to recap, it's not going to Javier.
Correct.
Just to
recap. Steve's here. Hi, Steve. Cool. Recent gets. I'm going to go in reverse order and start with Javier at the bottom left there. What is your recent get? Because I saw you sent me pictures of it, and I want to know more.
Okay. Well, my big recent get that I cannot show right now, it's in my garage because it doesn't fit any place. And no, it's not a car. It is Creality CR10S Pro version 2. It's a big 3D printer.
It does what, 500 by 500 by 330 or something?
No, it's 400 by something. Yeah, it's big.
Mm-hmm. It's basically twice as big as the standard printers.
Correct. Yeah.
So with like 3 or 4 runs, you could print a car.
That is correct.
Yep.
But I actually planning to do big parts that I would like to show. But if I show you that, it's part of a secret project that I have. But they're big. You can do big stuff. Like I'll be able to do a floppy drive. One of these. I'm gonna print it out complete, and I can make it. I can recreate this completely.
So Javier, you're saying, can you 3D print a house?
If it's a dollhouse, yeah. Anyway, I'm very excited about my printer. I set it up. It's working already, and I've been chugging along big prints all day. But also, I got a bunch of things also that Mac Effects, my friend Mark, our friend Mark. I'm sorry. He was very kind to give
No,
me
he's
some.
only my friend.
No, it's mine too. He got
You
me
introduced him to me.
goodies.
Anyway, go ahead.
He gave me a big 20 that he got around, and he gave me a TI-99. He didn't know if they work, and actually I cleaned them up and they work. So
Cool.
I don't break them anymore. That's weird. I
Famous
feel
last
weird.
words, but sure.
Plus, also I'm working on. I don't know if I showed last time. Fujinet.
Mm-hmm.
This is
I
the
like-
Ooh,
Fujinet.
look at that. Ooh, that you okay? You get big screen for that one.
Very nice.
Thank you. Yeah, this is the Fujinet, and but this is not the guys that we interviewed. Fujinet. This is a version, and this is what people likes more. This beautiful connector that we have over here. But and I just did the little cover, but
They
it's
Javier,
very
they really
small.
need. They really need to They need this. They need these things here. You're in solo layout. You can't see what I'm even showing.
Okay.
That's what you need. You need those.
Yeah, the problem is, first of all, yours is female, so that's a problem.
Oh,
But
You can get a
you
gender.
misogynist.
yeah, I'm sorry. There's no genders. So anyway, those are like $20 each on eBay, and I don't know where you get them. Maybe they're
John Kenny Morris.
Okay.
Reach out to him. He'll hook you up.
This one is made by a guy called TheRasteri in Spain. He did this, and it's his version, and his version is a compacted version of the normal Fujinet. Normal Fujinet is big and clunky, so he did this, kind of by himself. He redesigned the hardware, and it works beautifully, man. And it's plug and play. So that's what I've been asking the guys at Fujinet. And they're very busy doing their things, programming and all that. So this guy actually was very, very good doing this. And I also got something from him, at the same time. And this is called an Atari hard drive. And also I did the cover for this. So
Cool.
this is what they do in Atari. They have something called Satan. Oh, I cannot take it out because there's a card in the back. But it's just
Hey,
like
at least-
Satan.
He uses a blue pill just like the Blue Scuzzy does.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a blue
And
pill.
And this is
Aren't those Ataris? Aren't they ASCI? They're not SCSI. They're the earlier.
A Tasky. Yeah.
Yeah, this is for an ST, an Atari ST, and it emulates a hard drive. And several hard drives actually. When you boot, it asks you if you want to select A, B, or C, or something like that. C, E, or D, I think they are. And you just put the letter D, and it will mount the D drive, or the drive that you want to select. And you can put a bunch of images, and it's a hard drive emulator, and it's cheap. It works really fast. The only thing it has a USB, so you gotta connect it to the USB connector before you turn on the computer. So you turn on
because the Tasky port doesn't provide power.
I suppose, yeah.
So Javier, that's for your Atari?
Yeah, this is for the Atari ST.
So you have to buy a laptop to run your Atari?
No. This connects to a power supply.
Oh,
Just
okay.
plug it in the USB port on your Atari, and you're fine.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I told him. But it's actually pretty good, man, because the Satan is very expensive, and this is cheap. This is like $60, something like that.
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
this is a great acquisition that I just got, and I want to make a couple of videos about this and Fujinet, because I think these are great things that you can get, for your machines. And I mean the Fujinet, you guys already have seen it. This I just plug it, select it, and put the password of my router, and immediately went online, like right away. So
do you have a link for that?
yeah, I'll put it in a minute.
Yep,
Yeah,
we went
cool.
through and torrented the entire collection of Atari 400 software. It took 3 seconds.
On a slow day.
Actually, this guy is doing the guy that created the hardware, he's also helping doing a game, and I forgot the name of the game, but I'll give it to you too. And he has like a beta version in here, and it's amazing, man. It looks beautiful. So I'll put a link on that. So that's what I got so far.
Cool.
Nice.
Awesome. Andy, it's your turn, guest. What
Okay.
cool toy are you working on? That you got
Well,
recently?
I've been forbidden from buying too much stuff on eBay by my partner because the flat's getting a little bit too messy. But I did manage to sneak a couple of things under the radar. So what I normally do on eBay is I look for old industrial boards and just see what they are. This particular one's Vortex 86DX, just like what's in the Wii C. But the interesting thing about this one is it's actually, rather than being PC 104, it's PCI 104. So it has or is it PC 104 Plus? I can't remember what it's called. But the point is, as well as the ISA bus, it's got a PCI bus as well. So I'm thinking I'll maybe try designing a connector or an adapter board that, as well as providing ISA, also adds PCI. So maybe I can break that out to a normal PCI slot. Mostly because I've started doing benchmarks of various CPUs with the original 3DFX Voodoo graphics accelerator. I just kind of like to see how that scales up to other boards as well, because I mean, I've tried it on my Retro Rocket. Turns out that Voodoo graphics adapters just don't run on anything above about 500 megahertz or so. So yeah, I think this should be about in the target zone that it would just about run a 3DFX Voodoo. But yeah, no, that's what I do. Is I basically go on eBay, look for old industrial boards, and then just fiddle around with them and see what they can do. That's sort of my my hobby. It's yeah, that's one thing. I suppose. I also had to buy another Vortex 86 EX because I managed to blow up the one on my board by accidentally feeding it 12 volts because I plugged in the connector the wrong way around. So that's another thing I had to buy out of necessity recently. That should be arriving soon. I don't know what else have I had recently. Oh, actually, there's a game I got for the ZX Spectrum. I don't know if you guys cover games much, but this is The Biz by Chris Seavey. It's a cassette game, and this was, I don't know if you guys have heard of Frank Sidebottom. He was sort of like a comedy entertainer, musician character that was popular in the 1980s British TV. But this was sort of the origin of that character, who like used to wear a big plaster head and go on TV and sort of behaved rather strangely. And this is sort of Genesis. But it's the idea is it's a game where you sort of manage a rock band, and the idea is you sort of bring them up through, it's got a list of all the stuff, you promote them, give them musical direction, you have to negotiate with the pressing plant. It's like, sort of 80s music industry, the simulator. And the interesting part of it is it actually includes, because it's on tape, it actually includes 8 singles by Chris Seavey himself, who is now quite a well-known guy, but back then was relatively unknown. It's actually the same guy I was talking about earlier with the record that had the free music video on the B-side. It's the same guy who was sort of very ahead of his time when it comes to multimedia, and he wrote the whole game himself, despite being at the time a bit of a rock star. So it's a very interesting game. I'm looking forward to playing it a little bit more in my Specky. So it's another thing that's worth looking at.
Cool.
Nice. So
Awesome.
Andy, they're still making games on cassette.
This was released in the 1980s, but
I thought it was a newer game. I thought it was a newer one.
No, sorry. Yeah, this was 1980s. I think 1983 or something. This came out. Yeah, this was
a while ago.
yeah, a little while ago. It was this is when cassettes were still the thing that you could buy. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's certainly there are people still putting out ZX Spectrum games on tape, but it's more of a kind of boutique thing these days.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Rudy.
I got something that's really, really cool.
Molex to floppy adapter, is it?
It's a power adapter. It's the Molex to whatever that's called, 4-pin connector. For my GoTech, yay! That's all I got.
Okay. Sean, what cool Apple II toy were you going to show off today?
Whoa.
I
That's
thought
a
it goes
PC
with
transporter.
tonight's discussion really well.
What is that?
Ooh, what's that?
Are you gonna transport my PC with that?
This is a PC transporter.
And tell everyone what the transporter does.
Damn.
It is a 7 megahertz PC that you can put into your Apple II Plus, 2E, or 2GS.
Oh wow.
Cool.
It was developed by a company called Little Blue. Actually, that was the project. And they ran out of money, and then Applied Engineering swooped in and funded them, and it became an applied engineering product.
Huh.
Nice.
Basically, it's a Z80. It has up to 768K of RAM. It's all the IBM BIOS and operating system and everything is in software. But there's glue logic that will make it work with the 2GS hardware and a number of other Apple II peripherals.
Sean, you said Z80. It's a 8086, right?
I'm sorry, not a Z80, but it's an 8086. It's a I forget but yeah, it's an 8086 compatible.
V20, right?
V20. That's what I meant to say. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
it's a V20. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not a Z80 or a Z80 or a Z80.
It's not a Z80. I was thinking
Z.
V20, and I didn't say V20.
That's awesome. So are you talking? Are you in discussions with Joe to clone that card so we can all buy some?
Oh gosh, good luck.
Well, if Joe wants
No.
to, I'll be willing to help him out do it.
Oh my gosh.
Come on, Joe.
Cloning the board is easy. Who wants to acid decap those very rare glue chips and figure out how those work?
Well,
No.
you use modern replacements.
Yeah.
Is there a lot of custom logic on the transporter?
Yes.
Yeah, it's got
Really?
it has to have a lot of timing, synchronization, and all that stuff to the Apple II, so that it can feed the video and all that in between the two.
Okay. So what sort of like support does it have for? You said it interfaces with the Apple II, like you swap programs between them or use it as a coprocessor?
Well, you can't run them. They don't run simultaneously.
Okay.
You switch back and forth between them.
Okay.
And in Apple II mode, this looks like a Slinky card.
All right.
To like an Apple IIe or 2GS. But you can use it as extra memory for when you're doing disk copies and things of that nature. But
cool.
this card's not rare, but it's difficult to get, and a number of people would love to have one. So if anyone wants to try to clone it, I'd be willing to help out. There are 5 versions of this board, and I have all 5 versions, so we can use them.
Of course you do.
That's why nobody can find one.
That's right.
You can hook up, you can hook up an Apple 3.5-inch drive to this. You can hook up what's called a trans drive, which is either 1 or 2 IBM compatible drives. You can use MS DOS compatible drives for like a Blue Drive controller, if you know what that is.
Sure.
So the trans drives are limited to 360 and 720K, whereas if you use a Blue Drive controller, you can have access to the high density 1.44 and the 1.2 and the 1.44. So
nice.
So
it was a really cool card back in its day, but it cost a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
To get a fully maxed out system. You could easily spend as much money as you could just by going out and buying an entire PCXT clone.
Oh wow!
And of course, the machine was stuck at 7.1 megahertz. There was no way to speed it up, so you had basically an XT class card when 286s and 386s were coming out.
So Sean, you're saying not rare because you have so many at your house, or are you saying that it is rare because we can't find any and you have them all?
Well, no, I'm saying they show up on eBay now and then, but there seems to be more. There's more demand for them than availability.
So
Yeah,
roughly,
people-
what would you say the cost is like nowadays on eBay? What would you think they'd go for right now?
Well, I can sell the card and the drive for $600 all day long.
Wow, that's great.
I mean, you can only do it once, but
Well,
So I'll be back in a
look
sec.
at lots. That's really neat. That's really cool. Yeah. Well, Joe, you got to clone that one. Me once.
Come on, Joe. Chop, chop.
Javier will 3D print the motherboard for the motherboard for you.
No problem.
Sigh. Anyway,
That's really cool.
cool. Ron, are you ready to go? You want me to go first?
go first.
Cool. So my recent get was a full Apple II GS setup in original boxes. A WAS style ROM 1, or the WAS signed ROM 1, with the 1.25 megabyte internal upgrade card in it and all of that, with a monitor, with like 5 drives, with an image writer. Does anybody want an image writer too? You got to pay shipping. And
Mac
what's
84. Mac 84.
yeah. I keep threatening to send it to him, and like I keep getting like nasty letters in the mail. So, but the coolest thing that was in this box, that was just hidden in the box, that the seller didn't even know it was in the box until I saw the box. I'm like, yeah, was that
Box like 9 more times, please.
box?
Thunderscan.
Baby. I have wanted one of these things for a billion years, ever since I first saw one in a Nimble magazine in the early 90s. And yeah, I know. Well, Sean, I've only really known you for like a couple years, man. But it came in the box, and yeah. Here's the thing with me too, Sean, is like I have all these things that I know I want, but with ADHD, I can't think of them until I see them because I have no object permanence. It's like, oh, I've wanted that for 10 years. But like 2 months ago, say like Adam McGowie will say, Joe, are there any cool things you want? I've got a whole bunch of Apple II stuff. And I'm like, crickets. I can't remember.
I can't think of the thing.
Yeah, it's just gone.
I'm sorry, Joe.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
This is in ADHD. I bought a marker, and then the next day I bought a marker, and I placed the marker in a place where I would know that I would go back to find it. But I forgot what that place was until I bought the other marker. So now I have 2 markers.
Well, the Thunderscan was a pretty cool product back in the day. It's just, you turn your image writer 2 into a scanner.
Yep.
And there was even plans to turn it into like an OCR engine, but I don't think that software actually materialized.
Mm-hmm. Rudy, do a drive by Mac 84's house and throw it out the window, then step on the gas. Yes.
And videotape it.
Steve ordered something from me recently, and he's got some goodies in the box I'm sending to him. So Steve, watch out. Be very careful opening that box.
Put the image writer there. That's it.
Yeah.
It's a printer in pieces, yeah.
Dude. Yeah. That's really all I got. What's going on in your world, Ron? What cool toys you get?
I finally got my PLCC extractors.
Nice.
These I placed in a place where I knew that I would find them, but I am no joking. I have 2 other bags that look just like this that are somewhere. I don't care if they work or if and that's the thing about me, is that I'll give things away a lot of times because I'll be like, somebody be like, oh, I've been looking for one of those. Oh, well, you can have mine. And then like 6 months will go by and I'll be like, I swear that I had a Duo dock. I swear that I had this power supply or something. And I did, and it's gone. It's gone. It's at somebody else's house now. But anyway, I just wanted to show kind of cool new thing that I got from my friend Joe, which is, this is my PowerBook. You can't really see the screen because it's it's passive matrix, so it would be tough to see anyway. But in any case, this is running one of the new PowerBook PowerBook Blue SCSI devices.
Nice.
So it's really nice because I've got it set up with all of my games and things like that. So now I can kind of go on the road with my PowerBook, and it's all booted up and it's working. So
Love it.
my PowerBook has a few problems. So sometimes you do have to kind of curse it to get it going, but it does work. And it does boot. And I played Prince of Persia the other night for quite a while. And
Ron, I think the other problem with it is that it doesn't run Windows.
I mean, it can. You put soft Windows on it if that's your plan. It won't do it very quick. But in any case, yeah, it's really cool, and it's kind of nice. And Joe sent me one kind of as an evaluation, and now I need like 10 more to fix up all the rest of my PowerBooks. But
Ron, how did you find the installation of that? Easy?
I found it pretty easy, and actually, if we can take like 1 second, I'll show you all that's really required to do it. And I would like to post a video at some point, kind of showing the process on this. But now is as good a time as any, I suppose. And I'll probably face towards the camera while I do it. But in any case, really on these PowerBook models, there's one oddly sized Torx screw here in the back that'll have to be removed. So you can remove that. And then you want to make sure a lot of the guides show you removing this door. I wouldn't, just because the little pins that hold it in place are so fragile. Just make sure that you don't pinch it and you'll be good to go. And then here on the bottom, there are 4 Torx screws.
Ron, while you're doing that, there was someone in the chat asking, when was the last time you powered up the 2E? Was it in 1990?
No, I actually used it the other day to make some 5 1/4 for a friend.
Perfect.
But
there you go.
Yeah, so I use it. I use it quite regularly. But actually, I think here shortly, now that I'm getting some shelves. I'm getting shelves.
Yay!
I'm actually gonna put it on the shelf, I think, and I might put my LC 580 there, just because that I need a Mac to do kind of more things. So.
We were all you were in solo layout, but you didn't see all of us do like that. Yeah, when you said shelves. So.
Oh yeah, shelves. Yeah, great.
There we go. Okay, back to where we were.
Okay, so here on the back. So now you're ready. All you have to do is separate the video connection cable, and probably you also want to make sure that your battery is removed. But here on the back, let me get this propped up. You can it will just separate a little bit on its own, and then inside there's a video cable. You basically just reach in and you can use your fingers to just kind of separate it. And at that point, the 2 halves of the machine are apart, and you can just kind of rock it apart. It will make that sound. Don't get freaked out.
Boing.
And then at this point, depending on your model, it's just as simple as removing the hard drive and floppy retention bracket, which is 2 screws in the back, 2 screws in the front, and then 1 additional screw. Over here in the corner, it just uses a angled piece of plastic to hook into the case. But you remove those screws. Depending on the model, that just lifts out. There might be a data connection that you have to remove. On the 160, or I'm sorry, on the 165C, the 165, the 180, the 185, or 180C, you might have to remove this daughter board over here to disconnect the power or the data cable for SCSI. My advice would be to not try to pry this off of here, just because these things are unobtainium at this point. Just leave it all kind of glued in place and just remove the connector from the board. It's just, just on there with pressure. It's really easy. But at that point, when you remove that connector, you'll have full access to your SCSI drive. And then depending on your model, like the 165 and the 165, 165C, 180, 180C, they actually have a piece of plastic inside here that will create a separation between the actual RF shielding on the case and where the hard drive sits. So you can actually just plug it right in there. And then at that point, you're ready. I mean, you can access the SD card on this side. And if you prep it on your PC, you can just put it in there. It does bus power. It just boots up and goes. Pretty easy.
Awesome.
So, Ron,
I think-
will you be doing a video on that? I think that'd be kind of a
Yeah.
really cool video
Mhm.
to put out there, and you can link your, the card to Ron's video and say, here, how you put it in your 180 or whatever.
Absolutely. That's one of the other things that I need to do. I know Joe has done a couple of installs and stuff, but this will be kind of hopefully an evergreen video for a while that people can kind of watch to do installations. So my hope is to do one for the PowerBook 100, since that is a very unique, its own complete thing. PowerBook 100, do one for the 140, 170, which are just kind of the opposite of this machine, and then do one for the 165 and 165C. So that way it covers all the 1XX models for this.
Right. Yeah, nice.
Yeah. Now the PowerBook 150 does use IDE, so this device would not work with this internally, but you could put it in an external enclosure, and if that was your jam on that machine. And then the 190 and 190C and 190CS, I think those are basically like PowerBook 520s with just like cost reduced features, and those are IDE as well, so it won't work on that. But basically it's the solution now for any of these SCSI PowerBooks. So this is the big thing I've been working on recently.
Nice.
Everyone that gets sent out to, we send out a little 3D printed bracket so that it can be mounted into the bracket and mounted in place there. Yep, just like that. It also comes with some little spacer bits to help fill in the space between the bracket and the top, so it actually gets sandwiched down in place. I'm also sending them out with just a little piece of Velcro, two sides of Velcro that's adhesive. So some of those models, with the bracket, it won't fit in there correctly, so you have to smash it down in there with the Velcro to do it. You could use double-sided tape too, but I decided to go with Velcro so that you could remove it if you wanted to, and not have it just glued in there with like 3M's, whatever crazy chemical concoction they use to attach things.
I think Joe, I think it'd be great if you could wait till Ron does his video. Then you can press a CD and call it Ron's Awesome Online Learning AOL and include that with the package.
I love it.
Sure.
I'm going to upload that to my CompuServe account.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for mine.
Crap! I keep seeing ADHD. I told Javier I was going to send him one 2 freaking weeks ago.
Every day I'm at the door waiting at the mail, and the mailman passes by, and I'm like,
Here's how we're going to solve the problem. Ink pen.
you can see
Javier.
a small.
He's going to write it on his hand.
And it's going to sit right here on my bench. Object permanence, baby. Can't miss that until it ends up in this pile over here where all the junk is where my desk is. Hey, look, here's instructions on how to. Here's some heat sinks, and I don't know what that is. Oh, here, Javier, here's some parts to your LC. Anyway, moving on.
Anyway, just kidding.
Joe, will the Blue SCSI work on other vintage computers other than?
In theory, yes. It uses the exact same code and functionality as the regular Blue SCSIs. So anything that I would work on normally would work there. My only concern would be the standardization of the SCSI connector. What I will say is that even on the PowerBooks, I personally do not have any PowerBooks that have built-in SCSI, so I haven't been able to test jack squat. I've just been relying on Ron and the folks in the Blue SCSI group to say yes, this will work. If it uses that standard 40-pin miniaturized SCSI connector, it should work just fine. Yeah. So so if you've got like, I don't know, weird sequencers or I don't know, whatever, a Sun laptop. Did Sun even make laptops? I don't know. I'm literally just making stuff up now. But yeah, in theory, yes. And it's also one of those things, just like order one and install it in your machine. If it works, great. And then give feedback to the community so we know. If it doesn't work, just yell at us. We'll give you a refund. Just ship it back to us and we'll give you a refund. That's how we do it. So
I'd like to get one working in my K Pro.
Wait, if there's this project by this guy called Joe Stroh-Snyder of Joe's Computer Museum where he was going to make a SCSI adapter for the K Pro.
When's that
I think that has to come out first, Rudy.
Okay, all right. I'll wait for the video.
I think the Amiga also uses SCSI, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Some of them do. Some of them
yeah.
also use ID. It depends on the version.
Okay.
Like the later ones, like the 4000, for example, they had switched to ID. So,
Yeah, I've got to get SCSI up and running on. I've got a Commodore CD TV that actually dumpster dived out of a pub that was using it as a karaoke machine, and I've always meant to kind of get it working as a, put a SCSI hard drive or something like that in it, because it does have SCSI. I think the CD drive works on SCSI, so it's a nice easy way to. You reckon one of them will do me?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the Blue SCSIs now support CD images, so you could rip your CDs to images and just stick them on the drive there.
Oh, awesome! That's really
This sounds
cool.
like an amazing bit of cross promotional sort of thing. So, Joe, start those custom forums.
Anyway, yes. So I think we've kind of come to the end of the show tonight. We've run a little bit long, and I'm sure Andy wants to get to bed at being like 3 a.m. there now. But yeah, so let's give everybody a chance to go around and kind of promote their thing, what they're doing. Andy, you get to go first. Tell everybody again one last time where to find you and what you're doing.
Andy, this is shameless. You got
it on.
Coming up.
No shame.
Well, right now I'm on this great retro podcast called Retro Repair Roundup. I think you should all check that one out. Apart from that, yeah, just find my YouTube channel, TheRasteri on YouTube. I've also got a secret second channel that I don't really talk about much called the DJ Rasteri, where I just have a lot of weird random crap. So if you want to check that out, please do. But no complaints about the content. And yeah, I'm on Twitter at Rasteri, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, that's about it. Keep an eye on my Twitter and YouTube for any future projects. I've got, the Hidman coming up, the adapter, probably going to be doing more stuff with the WC. Every week I'm trying to put out a video every week or so, just about old industrial PC stuff at the moment. So keep an eye on that if you're into that kind of thing. And yeah, please subscribe.
Cool. Awesome sauce. Random person, Sean.
You can find me at A2Fan on Twitter. I'm on Facebook as Sean Fahey, and be sure to visit my favorite organization, kansasfest.org.
Absolutely. Javier.
Well, I'm just going to show this.
Mr.
I'm
Anime.
doing some retro computing. I'm trying to change the name so people don't do a search and they find weird stuff in YouTube. So I'm trying. I think I changed it. Also, I'm Habmaster at Twitter, whatever. And follow me. I'm trying to do more videos. I'm trying to do more content. But yeah, it's a pain to do videos. So bear with me. Anyway, and you know what? 8-bit tees. Best t-shirts, not this one, but best t-shirts.
Not that one.
This is from Apple. No, not this one.
The other one.
8-bit tees. Thank you.
Cool. Awesome. Rudy.
I got this new cable. I'm from Rudy's Retro Intel. You can find me on the YouTubes at Rudy Retro's Intel. I now, actually yesterday, just started uploading my videos onto Rumble, so you can search for me there. And if you want to get in touch with me, I do old school, either BBS, mail, or what's it called? What's it?
Pony Express.
Yeah, that too. Or you can reach me at Rudy retrointeldiy@gmail.com.
Cool.
Noise.
Sean. It's like buddy Jesus. Ron.
Hold on 1 second. Sorry. Gotta click the proper thing. Hey, would you make my thing? Hey, this is it. This is it. But you can exactly. Hopefully, what's his face isn't watching. So, but
Who, Jack Scott?
no, Kenny Loggins. But anyway, you can follow me on lots of different places. But if you go out to Linktree Ron McAdams, it'll take you to a listing of all the cool things that I'm doing right now. You can follow me on the YouTubes at Ron's Comp Vids. Finally, I was able to shorten that a little bit. You can follow me on Twitter at Ron's Comp Vids. You can check me out on Patreon at Ron's Comp Vids. You can also look me up Ron McAdams on IMDb. And then merch, perhaps. I've got ronscompvids.threadless.com with a bunch of different designs. So thank you so much.
Cool beans.
Awesome.
And last and certainly least is me. My name is Joe Stroh-Snyder of Joe's Computer Museum on YouTube. You can find me at all these weird little things up here. If you want to. I haven't really done a scripted YouTube video in so long. I might as well not be on YouTube anymore, but I do every couple of weeks do a live stream like yesterday where I just hang out, build stuff, answer a whole bunch of questions. We have a bunch of fun just doing old stuff on the internet. You can also follow me at Museum Joe there on the Twitters where I will just tweet completely random things, most of the time not computer related because I'm weird. You can support me at Patreon, Joe's Computer Museum. For as little as $1 a month, you can have access to exclusive behind-the-scenes content. And the big thing that a lot of people join for is to get access to my Discord server, where you can just yell at me anytime you want and say, hey, Joe, look at this cool thing. Or if you're in the Discord, again, for as little as $1 a month, you can get access to my streams to be on my streams with me. So cool stuff there. And then finally, sorry, jcm-1.com, where you can get things like Blue Scuzzy for power books, or like this cool thing, the LED Bright, that thing here, and other little things that help fund my adventure and keep the lights on and keep me doing really cool stuff with you guys.
Joe, I have a question. Do you have to be your Patreon list in order to be on a live stream with you?
No.
Okay.
Why?
Can I get a refund?
I have guests sometimes who aren't patrons. It's fine. What I'm okay, anyway, moving on. And as Justin said, Joe's Discord is worth it because we make fun jokes and stuff in there.
Definitely. Definitely. Worth every penny.
So again, I'd like to thank everybody for stopping by tonight, especially our guest, Andy, and telling us about all of the cool, awesome work that he has been doing with those micro PCs and the DJ history. Thank everybody in the chat who stopped by, asked Andy all those cool questions, and who made the show tonight really super fun. And of course, our hosts, me and Ron and Sean and Javier and Rudy, who kind of showed up and sort of did things. And filled the space while Andy was talking. Thank you all again. Remember to lasso that like button and do things with the subscribe button. And our next show will be on November 20th, 2022, with our special guests. I believe our next time are going to be Taylor and Amy. We actually have people lined up ahead of time. It's crazy.
I know. It's nuts.
We've got Retro Tech or Die is somewhere on the list as well. So we've got lots of people. Yeah. People in the queue wanting to come by. So
we were going to have both Liz's from the UK, and then that all fell apart too.
Yeah.
And just batting 0 on the English Lizzes.
Oh man. Cool beans. Awesome. Well, that's all we have for tonight. Thank you all for stopping by, and see you in 2 weeks. Bye, everybody.